And for some of students, look like good morning as well. This webinar is designed for students who plan to write a concept paper or prepare for the comprehensive exams or thinking about research proposal for the dissertations. Initially, it was intended as a complementary webinar for EDRS 93,000 course, which EDD students usually take before comprehensive exams. It's the last course before they go into independent studies. And usually students are expected to build the conceptual framework by reviewing the literature, by thinking about themselves as researchers and their research design, thinking about ideas and topics they want to examine. The concept paper they write during the course or after will be shared typically with dissertation committee to inform dissertation committee work. This is brief outline. We're going to talk about how to define or definitions, concepts, variables, frameworks, theories. We'll talk about the main objective, because literature review, the main objective of literature review is to design a conceptual framework or frame the study. We'll talk about how to clarify concepts, how to explore theories, and find evidence. And keep in mind, the evidence is usually results of research study. There is a data you collect, and when you analyze data, it's usually called in the literature evidence. And we'll talk also about how to analyze and map this evidence or concepts. And I will talk about different tools, including AI, artificial intelligence tools as well. For students who enroll in a course, it will be maybe duplication, but I need to do it. I need to clarify definitions. So if you look on this infographic, you see theory, construct, concept, and variable. And on the left is example of theory, construct, concept, and variable. In scientific research, concepts are the abstract idea. Phenomena, it's something you can observe, but concept sometimes cannot be observed. It's certain abstract idea being studied. For example, educational outcomes, it's a concept. Variables are operational concepts or something can measure, measurable properties or characteristics of a concept. So in this case, grades or grade reports. Constructs are broad concepts that might not be directly observable, academic achievement. In theory is a set of interrelated constructs or concepts or variables. Definition propositions that present a systematic view research of the phenomena. So if we think about that, what's most important now when we talk about conceptual framework? What is conceptual framework? There is plenty of definitions. Many attempts have been made to define a conceptual framework. I know in EDRS 93,000, course reading include the book by Ravich and Regan, which represent the term rather broadly. For them, for these two author scientists, a conceptual framework is not merely a static structure. It evolves through the iterative process in which the methodology informs the framework and vice versa, refining the research focus over time. Me personally, because I deal with conceptual framework and try to develop conceptual framework through literature review, I prefer Miles and Habermas's definition. It's more clear and applicable to searching for literature, searching for research, and also in developing this framework. So conceptual framework is a visual or written product, one that explains either graphically or in narrative form the main things to be studied, the key factors, concept variables, and the presumed relationship between them. So Miles and Habermas think about structure. To illustrate that, this is a metaphor, right? Or analogy for conceptual framework. This is a frame, foundation, and the connection between concept, variables, and construct, a structure that used to design a study or generate data, analyze it. So it has borders or boundaries which allow you to say what is included and what is not. So my conceptual framework includes these concepts, this relationship, these variables, and it excluded something else. A linked set of concepts, so everything is linked, right? And it's also its approach. So before you start building, you have to create a frame. With structure or this metaphor does help me before when I was a doctoral student. I hope it graphically represented what I tried to tell. So it's a connection between variables, right? It's a connection between concepts and foundation as a theory. So if you're thinking about literature review or role of literature review in developing conceptual framework, the trifecta that puzzle many students and tell the difference between theory or theoretical works, theoretical framework, concepts, conceptual papers, and conceptual framework. So theoretical framework is drawn from the existing theoretical literature, theoretical works. You build the conceptual framework by tracing the connection between concepts, constructs, variables in existing literature and proposing new ones that you tailor to your study, right? So there is a theory that exists. But to frame your study within the theory, you need to build your own framework. It could be built on one theory. If you're doing quantitative study, usually it's enough because you test the theory. Or you build conceptual framework, and it's typical for qualitative studies because theory doesn't exist. There's no theory, or your task or goal objective is not test the theory, but deeply investigate reality or construct reality within a particular framework. So you look for conceptual models, you look for existing theories, but you build your own frame. So let me show you a little bit more. Now I'm focusing on literature review because primary purpose, as I mentioned, of reviewing literature is to develop a conceptual theoretical framework. Literature review assists in identifying concepts and variables for one researching topic, and I can show you how to do it. And clarifying concepts, because concept value depends on the clarity and coherence of their formulation and their adequacy to the conceptual framework. It's not a secret that concepts or definition of scope of the concepts are different based on different discipline. So what we call in education a chair, in psychology, they might call, have different name. It's just example, right? Analogy with furniture. Because not just different name, sometimes it has different meaning. So it's very important to clarify and identify the concept you're talking about or you try to examine. You also have to establish connection between concepts or find connections that has been already investigated by somebody else. So always tasks, that's the literature review, main tasks and objectives. So if you think about concepts as like units of units of thinking or knowledge, the building blocks of knowledge or elements of the framework. Make sure that you found all definitions and usage of the particular concepts. You can use dictionaries, you can use thesaurus, you can use terms that you came across in any research studies. Review disciplinary differences of concepts and unbundle with what we call complex constructs or concepts. In some cases, you have to move from concept to operational concept or variable because you need to measure something. This is example how you can clarify concept. For example, in the library, we have access to two thesaurus, Eric thesaurus and education source thesaurus. And you can find information guide to thesaurus browsing that help you to navigate and find the right concept that align with what you try to examine, what you're going to build as a part of conceptual framework. For example, in this case, critical literacy. There is a scope note that says ability to read and write using skills and critical thinking. I can see broader term, literacy, and I can see related terms. This thesaurus is a part of ERIC database. So every time you click or check mark any of these terms that seems relevant, that's what you're looking for, it will pull and put in the search engine particular term or concept. And that will allow you to search for research reports if you're looking for this particular concept. Let's pull everything that has indexed using, for example, critical literacy.
Example 9:30 or 9?
Okay, databases. You allowed or have an option to limit the search by peer review or academic journals. It's actually more difficult to find research reports that produced by organizations or what we call white paper, gray literature. It's not easy to limit by that. However, there is a link in my guide that help you to find what we call unpublished research reports or research reports that not published in peer-reviewed journals. If you look in this infographic, you will see that when you search for theory, you have to keep in mind where you can find and what type of theories exist. So, for example, if you're looking for what we call mature theory, theory has been proven again and again, and many research studies have been conducted to prove this particular theory. It's very easy to search for example, quantitative study and find reference to the theory. Or search for other type of studies that do mention the theory. Especially quantitative or experiment, they usually try to test the specific theory. If you're talking about middle range theory, in this case, it's usually applicable. It's not grand theory, but something very small in scope and applicable to this particular learning process or teaching method. You can search for any type of studies that might mention this middle range theory. So coming from the research report, search for research reports first. If you look for emerging theories, usually before that, you can find conceptual models, search for conceptual papers. So there is a different type of theories, right? I do have a guide to theories and education and learning, education and technology and cognitive science. And this guide includes theories grouped by discipline, subject. It also provides guidance on how to find a theoretical or conceptual paper. Hopefully, you see the link to the guide, and hopefully it will help. I'm going to share the slides as well, not just recording. Another place to look for theoretical works or theories or conceptual models is research handbooks, reviews of research, reference books that describe learning, education theories, and theoretical manuscripts. We subscribe or have it now collection anthology of educational theories, e-books or e-references. And I make intentional purchase for like e-books for some time. So we have enough e-books that you can reach, access. If you notice on your left, it's one of the example of handbook on research. And each research handbook include review of theoretical foundations of particular subject or topic in education. And the second book is critical race theory, but with reference to the studies, not just theoretical work explained, but the collection of studies that use it. So I want to introduce another guide and another way to think about conceptual framework. It's a graphical presentation of conceptual framework. Conceptual framework visualize the research process, illustrating how elements interact and influence one another. This visual representation can take various forms, such as diagrams or flow charts. So it can be concept maps or literature maps. So this guide is to literature and concept mapping. Show how to do it, what tools to use it, how to create literature map, or how to create conceptual and literature map together, which obviously help to communicate this complex relationship. And I know some dissertation chairs are very excited to see this conceptual theoretical map, graphical representation of your framework or frame of your study. But mapping out these connections, researchers can better understand the dynamic of their study and identify potential gaps in research, what's missing, what concepts are missing, by the way, or what relationship between concepts or variables are missing, and the area of further exploration. So ultimately, for me, conceptual framework or the map serves like roadmap that guides the researcher through the complexity of the inquiry and ensure not just the boundaries, but also that all aspects of research are aligned and coherent, they're connected between each other. So let's see what kind of tools you can find in this guide. In addition, there is a list. I can blow it up a little bit, but you already have in your course, people who take EDRS 93,000, Hopscotch conceptual framework, how to develop conceptual framework using graphical presentation of conceptual framework and a form from Hopscotch. Also, there is many AI-based or natural language processing or automated citation analysis tools that we use right now that help to do it as well. Some of them are listed in this table to help you out. I kind of divide some of them as citation analysis. So you can search for citations based on your research question, based on your particular keywords and names of concepts as well. Using these tools, they find the papers, related papers that examine similar concept, or another set of tools, cluster all these works or research around specific concepts. So if you look in a table with clustering, usually size space allow to do with clustering. Another tool is caret search and elicit. So three major AI-based tools that allow you to do that. To visualize or do with citation analysis, connect one work with another based on citations. If everybody cites the same work, for example, they are connected. If everybody cites one theoretical work, they are connected. They have one theoretical framework in mind, right? So these tools do it a little bit differently. So semantics cover knowledge maps, lit map, and research rabbit. You search for something and you present it with what we call literature concept map. But the concepts associated papers as well. Each circle, for example, is a concept, and then a relationship between concepts, and then there is a reference to papers. This is example of conceptual map that transferred to a literature map. I prefer to have both because when I'm doing literature review or try to analyze collected literature, it's not like visual learner, but it makes sense for me graphically to see all this connection and see what's missing, what's the gaps are, and where should I research or how I can frame my study. And if you notice, there is a few theories mentioned here and reference to particular sources under specific concepts or constructs in this case. Okay, so there's two references and also link to Interactive Research Method Lab that we have access. This is link. We have virtual lab and physical lab, and also again link to the material I use. That's it. That's the end of my presentation, and I am ready for your questions. If you don't mind, I stop recording and
Excellent.